everybody's wondering, do Facebook ads really still matter? Are they still relevant to the marketing professionals out there that are trying to move the ball for their clients or for their businesses with maximizing every dollar of their spend? Is Facebook ads still relevant in that discussion? So I decided that if I was going to have this conversation, I was going to bring the smartest people I know to the stage. So I am going to bring them forward in a second, but I want to just cover a few housekeeping things. Basically, this is we are have everybody here. If you're here and you're participating, you're letting us know that we're allowed to use your questions and your participation. You will be muted during the conversation if you're viewing this, so you won't be able to chime in live because we want to make sure we're all focused on what we're doing. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We do want you to be active in the chat. That said, make sure you're interacting and asking questions, because we'll be sure to make sure that you get the answers to your questions that you need and want. So without further ado, let me bring forward this incredibly talented group of people to you. I'm going to kick it off with Amanda. And Amanda, this is a little bit your brainchild, this conversation, bringing together this group of people. Let everybody know who you are and what you do. And I'm so stoked that you came up with this entire idea. So thank you.
So, hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Robinson. I am the digital gal, and I teach Facebook advertising, have been doing this for many, many years. But I've also learned a lot from the other people in the room here. So the original motivation was I just wanted to get all of us on camera together to kind of just geek out on the realities of Facebook ads and what we all go through, what we all deal with, and the common challenges that we all have, plus just get these really brilliant minds all on screen together. So when Agorapulse stepped up and said, hey, we have this idea, I got really excited to see you bring all of us together. So thank you very much.
Good. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm going to kick it off to John. John, tell us a little bit about what you do and why Facebook ads matter to you, or if they do.
Man, oh man. 2011, I was laid off and just started a website and wrote a bunch of content, started writing about marketing and advertising and Facebook ads. And that's really been my niche since, going into 2012. And so I've seen a little bit of everything. The way this has all evolved has been really incredible. So, yeah, so even now, today, finding new ways to teach, using video, short form video. But it's as relevant as ever, Facebook ads and everything involved.
Good. I can't wait to get into it with you. The amazing Amanda Bond. Nice to meet you. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing over at the Ad Strategist.
Yeah, so I am obsessed with dynamic sequencing with Facebook ads. I love using inclusion and exclusion audience and just doing this conditional logic ninja moves behind the scenes. I primarily work with course creators, but like John, I've been in this for over a decade now. My first ever use of Facebook ads was back in, I believe it was 2013. And it was a local event called Food Truck Frenzy, where we were anticipating about 3,000 to 4,000 people to walk through the gates of this local event. And I had a $200 ad budget, and we saw 23,000 people cross the gates that weekend. And since then, I was just sold on Facebook ads, and I'm still as in love with them as I ever have been.
Oh my gosh, that's so good to hear. I can't wait to get your take on so many of the topics we're going to talk about today. And those are incredible results. And we will finish it up with the wonderful Andrea. How do you pronounce?
Either way, really.
Nice to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Andrea Vall, and I started back in the day of 2009 doing a blog with my alter ego, Grandma Mary, social media edutainer, and just created fun content that was it was useful and also entertaining. So, and then co-authored Facebook Marketing All-in-One for Dummies along with Amy Porterfield and Phyllis Kerr. And so I've been really invested in Facebook ads, kind of transitioned my whole business to really focus just on Facebook ads. As social media got more and more complicated, it was harder to be, you had to be more of a specialist. And I think it was my favorite thing to do. So I love it. And I love working with clients and seeing the results. And it is, I almost thought about giving up during the Apple iOS thing. Thought I'm going to go into geology, but no, I stayed the course. No, I love it. It's great. It's amazing. It's back better, as good as ever, in my opinion. So that's a good thing.
Good. Well, I am loving all of this enthusiasm. I'm so excited to learn from you guys today. We have a ton of expertise on this panel. So if you are watching this, make sure to chime into the chat with your questions, and we're going to jump right into it. And basically, I'd like to go around and I'd like us all to kind of talk about what are the state of Facebook ads today. You guys are real optimistic, but if you had to give a quick summary of where we're at today with Facebook ads, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about getting into Facebook ads or thinking about increasing their budget? Amanda, you want to go first? Bond?
Sure. The state of Facebook ads today, I feel like everything's changed, but at the same time, it's the exact same in some ways. The past few months, maybe even years, what I'm really seeing is ads are amplifying what's already working in a sales process. So if you're bringing something to the table that converts organically and you're starting to put some ad spend behind it, you have organic content that's already working, that is where you're going to find the best success with Facebook. And the difference between what it used to be, let's say 5 years ago, is that you could bring any type of creative to the table. And let's say the click-through rates and the action rates you're receiving from those ads may have been higher on less high quality creative. I think the biggest thing that you need to stand out in today's market is strong creative that resonates with the audience that you're trying to go after, because you can't just put anything up and get those strong click-through rates and action rates. You really have to speak to the humans that you're trying to reach on the other side of the screen.
Interesting. What do the rest of you think? Same for you, or something different when you think about the state of Facebook ads today?
Yeah, I think Amanda is bang on with everything that she said. It's different. It's so different than it was 5 years ago. It's completely changed, but the fundamental mechanism of it being successful is still the same. I mean, in my opinion, from being hands-on inside this platform and other platforms, it's extremely difficult for a small business to find anywhere else that they can do digital advertising and amplify their message and get results to the same degree with Facebook and Instagram advertising compared to any other platform. It's still the lowest barrier to entry, the lowest cost to entry, and the most effective place to do exactly what Amanda said, amplify what's already working. It is still, same as it was before, it's still not the arena to go in and try something you've never done before with a product that's never made sales before, with a website that's never had success before. And then that's where we see a lot of business owners get frustrated, throw their hands up and say, Facebook ads don't work for me. Like they do, and they still do, and they still compete at, in my opinion, top of the pack compared to a lot of other digital platforms.
Super interesting. So would you say okay, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this. Are we saying that this isn't some place to launch a new product or a new service, or that you wouldn't want to launch something with ads or launch a new piece of content with ads? Is that what I'm hearing you guys say?
Yes, as long as you have the budget.
Yeah, I mean,
to do the experimentation.
Yeah, I think you can test. You can float out some tests to push it in a faster way. But it's not a place to say, "Hey, we're going to plunk down $100,000 like the first month and have immediate success." You have to do your testing, and you have to, you might have to kind of tweak, change your funnels, or change your lead magnets, or change that messaging a little bit, or figure out really what's resonating with the market. But for sure, it's way better if you've got it working organically.
Yeah, I think what's hardest now is the smaller budgets. So you could make such a huge impact several years ago on a very low budget, whereas now that's where it's hard. So it's small businesses, small budget, and usually that's related to they don't have the greatest copy creative product website as well. But generally, I just say that today things are both harder and easier at the same time. It is harder, right? Because like I was saying, with the small budgets, it seemed like a greater percentage of advertisers would have been finding success 5-10 years ago than now. And of course, all the tracking and attribution issues with iOS that seem to be getting better. But it's easier in that with the machine learning, AI developments, everything that Meta's doing, they're trying to streamline the process for you. So whether it's your targeting, your optimization, placements you're selecting, everything, they're just basically like, trust us, tell us what you want, we're going to get it for you.
So are any of you running into this little push-pull struggle right now with them moving into Advantage Plus everything? So automated, automatic everything. But us sitting in the room here, we all have hands-on expertise in crafting our own campaigns, doing our own targeting, really managing our placements, managing all of the little nuanced pieces of the campaign. And I'm finding right now personally that I'm almost fighting against the system, because I'm like, no, I don't want this going in marketplace and I don't want this going in audience network. So I'm nipping and tucking and pulling, and I'm still trying to carve it out the way that I would traditionally do it. But everything has gone a lot more broad than it used to be. So now I'm almost at the point where as a professional, I'm still like, well, maybe I am just going to let the system take over at this point.
I've been doing the testing and doing my traditional, little things levers that I'm pulling, and then doing all Advantage Plus everything. And a lot of times Advantage Plus is winning. And so it's interesting to see that they are really getting it finally. It took, I used to always say, don't use Facebook's recommendations. They're the worst, but they are getting much better now. So that's good. I think it's good for marketers and good for results. I think that people still will need an agency a lot of times because it is still overwhelming in, coming up with great copy, coming up with great images, all that stuff.
The creative director in me gets so frustrated with the automatic placements, though, because I'm like, if I was personalizing that ad, that image would not be cropped in that exact way that you did, Facebook. And I get upset at it from a user experience. Yeah. And then when the results come in at a cost of less than the personalized and customized versions, I have this struggle in my head of, I don't know how to think of it sometimes, because I'm like, I value the creative that I put out there, and this machine is giving me a subpar, in my own opinion, creative, but getting better results. So it's just something fascinating to reflect on.
It is fascinating.
I resist.
Does anybody feel comfortable explaining it to our audience who might not know about what this tool is? Just giving a quick.
You talk about this tool.
Advantage Plus.
Advantage Plus. John, you've been doing a lot of good tutorials on this lately.
So I just did one on Advantage Plus shopping yesterday. But basically, first of all, super frustrating and confusing that everything has the Advantage and Advantage Plus branding. And I don't know what the difference is between Advantage Plus and Advantage, by the way. So if anyone else does, tell me if it's better or not. But basically, the main thing is, when it comes to targeting anything with Advantage, is you said you want to target this. We're going to go broader than that, potentially, if we can get you better results. Really, that's always part of that definition, that we don't know how broad it goes, but it can, if it can get you better results. And then placements, it's normally you would select all these placements individually. Now it's the algorithm is going to sort it out for you. If this isn't working, you're not going to see a bunch of distribution to that placement. Trust the algorithm. But then there's Advantage Plus shopping and other Advantage Plus campaign creation, where it's basically there are set defaults that you cannot change. So yes, you cannot change the placements. You cannot change the optimization and this and that. And partially because it's we know better than you do, because they've seen over and over and over. When I say we, the algorithm, they've probably seen over and over that the vast majority of people are just screwing it up and making it harder for themselves by micromanaging it. And so, overall, they're seeing better results. And look, I resisted this myself, kind of like what everyone's kind of saying here. But as I think Andrew was saying, it has gotten smarter. And basically, it's a matter of, you can adjust manually based on things you're seeing, or have an algorithm that is adjusting in real time and with all this data information that we don't have. And that seems to be what's happening now.
And Google is going the same way with its smart campaigns. So it's not just Facebook that's doing this. So machines are taking over our ads. They know what we want to buy before we do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we're talking about the state of Facebook today. It's kind of like we're all kind of seeing this automation coming along, and that seems like a really big change that we're all adjusting to. Anything else, state of Facebook today, that pops out to you as something that everybody watching this should be really paying attention to? Or are we going to chalk this up as the biggest, most impactful change going on or thing happening right now with Facebook ads?
Well, I would love to bring up, I don't know if I should bring this point up because it's going to bring us down a rabbit hole, but originally, was this like several months ago, Amanda Bond and I were having lunch together and discussing how, in her opinion, iOS 14 changed nothing. In my opinion, iOS 14 nearly crippled my business. And so that was the moment there where it's like, okay, the state of Facebook ads has absolutely changed, but yet nothing has changed. So when it comes to, so where I'm seeing it is that was a huge turning point where the entire platform has completely pivoted from reduced targeting opportunities for us with detailed targeting, with the aggregated events measurement that I lovingly call aggravated events measurement. Well, there were so many changes. So when we say the state of Facebook ads, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. And I can see Amanda's face light up when I said that. But yeah, I just love to just throw iOS 14 into the mix on this conversation.
What do you guys think? Has that been huge or not huge for you?
Well, Amanda, I'll counter because you threw me under the bus with that one of saying iOS changed nothing. For context, I work with a very small segment of people who are all course creators. And so their entire sales process is digital. And they have a lot of Google Analytics tracking set up. We've built a lot of custom dashboards in the background to be able to see where leads are coming in, calculate the earnings per lead at any given moment so that we have up-to-date data to constantly feed back into Facebook, even if they're underreporting on conversions or pixels aren't firing. And so for us in that specific industry, the only thing that we were seeing was underreporting of conversions. But those conversions were still happening in the background. It was just skewing our cost per result. It was just skewing all of the data in Ads Manager. But the way that we were able to pivot around that was all these customized dashboards that we had created on the back end. And so I'm seeing now today, it does feel like the reporting's a little bit more accurate recently. I don't know what is leading to that. I don't know if you guys are seeing that as well. But the biggest impact that I did find is that lookalike audiences seem to be performing a little bit less consistently than they used to. Like lookalikes just used to be such a strong performer, and now it's like hit or miss with them.
Yep. I'm seeing the same thing.
Too? Yeah.
Yep.
How about you, John?
Well, I mean, related to the iOS stuff, the biggest change right now is that even though aggregated event measurement still exists, we no longer have to rank our 8 events and also verify the domain in order to configure and rank those events. That's a huge change for the advertisers. I still haven't heard an explanation from Meta of like how that's possible and what they're actually doing instead. But the other thing was something I spotted in Ads Manager is, so it says due to machine learning, they've been able to more accurately, supposedly, track conversions and attribution and whatnot, and you might start seeing more conversions is basically what it said. And whether those two things are connected, I don't really know, probably. But so I think basically with iOS, a lot of people suffered from those, especially those early days. And I think a lot of it was due to the change in attribution from the 28-day, one day view that it used to be to 7-day click only at first. And that was crazy. But we're starting to see better attribution to be able to say, oh, yes, this is working in general. So I think we're coming out the other side right now.
Okay, so we're going to go. Sorry, one more?
I was just going to say that's one of the big questions that we get from everyone is how do we know Facebook ads are working? Right. And that I feel like iOS kind of threw a little bit of a wrinkle into the fabric.
But it sounds like it's getting better. Is it getting better? Because it sounds like it's kind of stabilized out from what you guys are saying.
It's changing.
I'm seeing results for some of my clients that have been running ads for years and years, like, 6, 7 years, same formats of things that they've been doing, same webinars, same lead magnets. I'm seeing the same cost per lead that I had before COVID. Now in the last 6 months, it's really improved. So, I mean, it just really spiked up there and was terrible for a while during that iOS change. So it's nice to see that come back, and it's not for sure, not everyone. It's still a little, sketchy every once in a while, but I'm seeing great results for a lot of people.
Do you think that was all? Are we going to blame that dip all on iOS and maybe a little bit the pandemic, or do we really think it was all iOS changed?
I mean, the pandemic probably helped.
Yes, it did. I was crushing it. Everyone's online. There's nothing to do.
We heard a lot of that.
Yeah, the iOS. It was. I think.
Yeah, the only way that I can see the pandemic having an impact is that just the volatility of how many advertisers were flooding the network. Mm-hmm. So the competition where you used to be able to get certain cost per click, well, for certain industries, well, all of a sudden, I'll give you an example of wineries. So I had a winery that had approached me during COVID and said, we were sitting on millions of dollars worth of inventory that we would normally sell with footsteps in the door for wine tastings, but the tasting room is shut down. So we need to now transition this into online sales and now sell this, and we'd like to amplify with ads. Well, they're one winery among thousands that were doing the same thing. And that's one business model among thousands that were doing the same thing. So the amount of inventory, the amount of ads flooding the available inventory, I think changed things up a little bit during the pandemic. But to Andrea's point, it was good.
Yeah, it was glorious for a lot of people in social media. Okay, well, so then I want to just recap here quickly before we move on to point 2, which is basically that we're looking at automation coming in and more in Facebook and part of our ads process, and that seems to be going well. We're all kind of holding our breath to hope that continues to do well. It's kind of how I took it. And then these iOS changes, same thing. They seem to be settling out. So is that a good, accurate recap of what we talked about? Okay, good. Let's move on to question number 2, because I found this one really fascinating as well. Obviously, changes in pixels are changes in life for us if we're tracking, how things are going. So on platform versus off, what's our consensus here on this topic?
So I talk a lot about this first-party data versus third-party data. So one of the biggest changes that I noticed was Meta was really starting to kind of push all of these little recommendations inside Ads Manager to, hey, why don't you try lead ads? Hey, why don't you try an engagement ad? All these prompts that were basically diverting you off of website, like using website audiences and pushing people off the platform and just keeping them on the platform. And I was finding I was getting lower ad costs keeping people on the platform versus sending them away. And that kind of shifted the entire strategy on how I would operate with small businesses. Instead of sending people to a website and then retargeting your website visitors, our website visitor audiences weren't effective anymore. So then we had to look at, okay, how do we continue to retarget with what we have to work with? And I found that keeping people on the platform it was working better. They were kind of pushing us in that direction. So I can see everyone else kind of nodding along here.
That makes perfect sense.
It's a philosophical struggle, though, because for the longest time, and I think a lot of marketers are the same way. We're saying, hey, always send people to something you own, right? So send them to your website, drive traffic to your website, build up your email list, which you can still do, but do all these things that are so you're not relying so heavily on Facebook, right? But that's the truth, though, these days. Like it is, in some cases, better to keep them on Facebook. First of all, just because of the remarketing and the attribution and things that are happening on Facebook is 100%. It's complete, whereas it's not if you send them away. And it might be cheaper to keep them on Facebook as opposed to sending them away. So it's something that I'm like going into short form video. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, I'm not sending anyone to my website. It's like, I would never have even considered that a year ago, but now realizing that it has a positive impact, but it's a huge gamble for all of us as businesses, brand owners, whatever. It's like you rely so much more than, which is the trap on the platform. So there has to still be some of that balance.
Well, I feel like I'm seeing all the platforms do this. All of a sudden, we've got options on all of the platform that seem designed to keep people on the platform, which is interesting even as a marketer, because it kind of does almost forces you to go deeper on one platform rather than like sprinkling lightly among all the platforms. At least I'm seeing that. What is that impacting you? Any these on-platform, off-platform discussions, are they affecting you guys in any other ways? Like, how are your businesses handling this? Your clients?
I think there's an opportunity for people who are utilizing more of the social selling model where they are engaging prospects and customers in the DMs, in Messenger, that keeping them on the platform, they can still keep track of those profiles even if they don't have the email addresses. So the opportunity lies within that. I also enjoy the fact that it's a great user experience to send them to a lead form, even to an event. Like the fact that we can retarget the people who mark interested in going to an event, even if they don't, or going to an event. If we can retarget the people who fill out a lead form or just visit the lead form and not have to worry about a breakdown in that tracking if, they're logged in on a different device or using a different email. There's a lot of benefit to it. But if you're not using that like social selling model and keeping up with it, like maybe it does make more sense to just pay a little bit more to send people to the assets you own. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it or answer here. It just really depends on your specific business model and needs.
Well, I think people are getting a little bit like jaded with just immediately asking for the email. And so these kinds of on-platform ways that we're marketing are a little more about building the relationship first. You're talking through the DMs and one-on-one, and you're doing a video that is getting them to know you a little bit or something like that, where they're not as reluctant to, say, oh man, now I'm going to be on some spam list again or whatever. So I think it's just a little bit more buildup of the trust first.
I also think you're a little bit too not breaking the trance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? When you're in consumption mode on a social media platform and you click out into another area, it can break that role that you're in. Like, just as a consumer, I can say that. And I love that you brought up the DMs, because that like conversations happening inside of the platform in the direct message format, because that really does lead us to our third point, which I'm going to jump into because we've queued it up so well. But basically, click to messenger ads. And I want to frame this one personally, because I had a chance to play with Facebook Click to Messenger a couple years ago because of a campaign I was doing, and I kind of fell in love with it. But I fell in love with it not having to use it for clients or use it the way that you guys use it. I just thought it was a cool idea, kind of more in the abstract. What are the real life challenges and strengths of Click to Messenger in the real world where you guys are?
I think the strength, first of all, is that it's a conversation that you're getting somebody like you're selling this expensive thing, and it's a huge commitment. So they might be interested in it, but they have questions. So it allows them to ask questions about it, get their questions answered, and then maybe become a buyer. I think that the challenge is it's more of a admin management thing. Like you got to make sure you got somebody in there managing that and answering those questions. Because if you're spending a bunch of money, you're going to get a lot of questions, a lot of really kind of pointless messages to deal with too that probably aren't very helpful. So.
Yeah, I'll speak to that because we were recently looking for an investment property, and I kept seeing ads where it was a developer who was selling lots ahead of time, and I would click as a user to enter the experience, and the follow-up with these ads were just not there. And so I'm now sitting there waiting for the information that could help me make a decision, and it just fell through the cracks. So that's definitely a disadvantage. You need somebody to be there and be responsive too, because like John said, it is a conversation that you're entering into.
Yeah,
well, I think a lot of businesses, small businesses, struggle for during these transitional times where Meta is transitioning into the first party data, keeping people on the platform, where when you went to boost a post, it would automatically append a send message call to action onto the posts. So these businesses are boosting posts, trying to put ads out there, and it's automatically a send message, but the businesses themselves aren't prepared to, they're not conditioned or used to checking their inbox, checking their messages, and having somebody prepared to respond. So I think what has happened is, for a lot of people like Amanda Bond's experience there, it puts people off from using the function because you don't have trust and faith that you're going to get a response from you putting that effort in, you opening up that communication channel. So I think there's going to be a longer transition time before they become a lot more effective. But I see that down the road, these conversational interactions with clients and customers is going to be completely necessary for businesses.
Yeah, I've seen some stats around the likelihood to buy once they've had one of those conversations, and they're pretty compelling. But has anybody here experimented with chat automation? Because that was really, when I was looking at this, like that was the big aha for me. Like, oh my gosh, with a little bit of money on a good chatbot, and emphasis on good chatbot. I actually was in a session where we were talking about this, and it was one of those things where if you're going to commit to going this route, this is not necessarily something that everyone has the capacity to do themselves. Like, this was one of those areas where I would recommend bring in a smart person who knows how to do chat automation, because it is a kind of a different way of thinking to set up a good chatbot. But what do you guys think? Like, what about chat automation here?
Well, I think this is the future of this, though. Honestly, like, we have the old chatbots we've had for years, right? Those are okay. But the new AI chatbots based off of ChatGPT and all that other stuff, which are trained on your FAQ, your content, the stuff that's going through your Zendesk, all of that, like, there's really no reason to have anyone waiting for an answer. It's not going to be perfect. It's, you know what, though, it's going to be pretty darn good. Like, I don't know how much you've kind of experimented with this stuff. So that's why I think that's going to be the future of a lot of these messaging, click to messenger type of ads.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see how it isn't successful, especially when, for you guys that said that, like, the person, you don't have a human there to like manage the inbox and everything. But like, I feel like there are certain clients for whom this is kind of genius. Like, if you're a restaurant, the question you get over and over can I see your menu? A chat automation is perfect for that.
Are you open?
Are you open? And I feel like for certain businesses, you could have the most basic chat automation, and this is a slam dunk. I mean, this is the difference between someone coming in for dinner and not coming in for dinner, to use that as like a very simple example, where 90% of your questions are probably the same question over and over again. And of course, I've actually seen some higher ed users who have chat automation that's so sophisticated that it can take you right from nice to meet you to submitting like an application to enroll, like completely automated, walk you through downloading all the processes. So there are people doing really sophisticated things, but I feel like even in the most basic way, there's, this could be a super powerful tool.
I did want to touch on that these are all really good in theory, but in actual practice, there are some challenges that we're still too new into. Chatbots have been around for quite some time now, but still too new into everybody using them fluently. So for example, when you create a messenger marketing chatbot and you have any buttons associated with it, those buttons don't represent the same on an iOS device as they do on an Android device, as they do on an iPad, as they do on desktop. People aren't, when you look at Facebook and Instagram, I hate to put it this way, but we're starting to skew older. Mm-hmm. It's not the generations that have grown up with an iPad in their hand. So if you're putting an ad in front of somebody who didn't grow up with computers, and you have a messenger marketing chatbot that they've been presented with, and they have to tap a button, but they respond instead, and then it breaks the bot. We're not there yet as far as when you say, being sophisticated. There are so many sophisticated solutions. There are so many solutions out there that could work. But in reality, a lot of businesses just aren't fully equipped in-house to be able to assemble these tools in a way that is completely intuitive to the mass majority, not just what could be done. So and there's a lot of build time that goes into this. I've run lots of experiments with clients. I love building messenger marketing chatbots. It's like therapy for me. It's like a puzzle at the end of the day, instead of sitting there in front of the TV and putting a puzzle together, I'm like, all right, let's wire this up. But
you're so
in your
weird,
head,
Amanda. I relax by building chatbots.
But in your head, things go a certain way, but the amount of build time and the amount of implementation and the amount of hiccups that you run with all the changes on Meta's platform where it's changing daily, and you build something in one way, it worked yesterday, it doesn't work again today, and then the user interaction is completely different today than it was yesterday as it will be tomorrow. So I still feel like these are excellent solutions. And to John's point, I think that's the future of where we're going. So learn the tools now, start experimenting with the tools now. But I still feel like it's not a lightning bolt solve all solution right in this minute.
Right. And again, I would absolutely tell you that if you decide you want to go this route, earmark some of that money for a person whose brain uses it like therapy, like yours, to write it for you. Because I don't think it is intuitive for most people. So let's recap Facebook click to messenger ads. Basically, we said that, if you don't do them right, they can create a lot of noise in your inbox. There are automation options, but some of those can even be clunky. And this might be an area to spend some money in if you want to go this route. And I will say too, I do think depending on what your business is, it could be a better spend than not. Let's jump ahead to talking point number 4, which is all about lead and conversions. We are kind of organically leading into all these conversations because what does it matter if you create all these leads if you cannot track what's happening? You need to know if it's working or not. So what are you guys finding out? Like, are you having good conversion rates? Are you able to track them? Do you feel like the attribution is working well on the platform now today? What are you guys running into? Challenges and strengths. Jump in.
Yeah, I think attribution is working. I mean, yeah.
John's face.
Yeah, I think attribution is working much better. And I think the optimization is working much better because you can, wide audiences are outperforming all the, mostly the other types of audiences. Like you can put keywords in there and sometimes those work a little better, or lookalike audiences aren't working as well, like Amanda Bond said, as they used to be as well. So it's just the wide targeting with the pixel optimization that is really working well. And we're getting good tracking in a lot of cases, a good attribution there. So I think it's good news for marketers for sure. It's as long as you've got a working funnel.
A working funnel, like the holy grail of every marketer ever.
Literally,
right?
What about the rest of you? Like, and I do want to ask the question about UTM codes too. Like in this, I want to get your challenges and strengths, but don't let me forget to talk about, like, are you guys using UTM codes to help track any of this? Does that matter if you stay in platform or off platform? So what do you guys think? Challenges, strengths?
I mean, first of all, going back to, what we were talking about, I think budget is really important because if you've got a product, $100 product, and you say, hey, sell this for me, spend $100 a month, good luck. You're not going to sell any, right? So whether it's building leads, building awareness, building engagement, something, should be doing that. But attribution still works. And kind of going back to what, Andrea Vall was saying about broad and the pixel. I think what most people misunderstand right now is like going broad, the algorithm understands is like based on the pixel activity, you're doing a lot of remarketing in there because it knows who it should go after. And some of the people it should go after are the people who already go to your website and perform these actions. So anyway, UTMs, I'll let somebody else jump in.
I wanted to touch on attribution and leads and conversions. A lot of the businesses that I work with are small businesses who don't have an add to cart necessarily. So for example, real estate, you can't add a house to cart and check it out. I wish you could. So when it comes to attribution and measuring what's working and what's not, I found that especially during the toss up of iOS 14, what I do is I manage expectations with clients and I focus on different goals from when I start working with them in through, a longer relationship. But at the beginning, I really focus on looking at your numbers, looking at your audience sizes. And I think this is underrated. What I do is I set up engagement audiences, who's engaged with your Facebook page, who's engaged with your Instagram, and I set up video view audiences, anyone who's watched 3 seconds or more or 10 seconds or more of your videos. And then I include those in the monthly reporting for clients because I'm setting that as our goal. I focus them on, I don't care how many likes you have. I've got a real estate company right now where we just started a brand new account for them at Christmas. And there's like 400 likes on the page. But our content is consistently reaching over 70 to 80,000 highly targeted, highly engaged people. Those are the numbers that matter right now. That's the attribution. That's my success rating right now. But then when it comes to generating leads, if you're not reaching a giant footprint, a giant digital footprint, and having them actually engage, nothing else down the line matters at all. The quality of leads you'll get out of that are going to be garbage if it's not happening at that point. So we set that as the expectation, manage the expectations that way. And then as we get into month 2, month 3, then we start going, okay, well, now we want to make sure that we're growing our warm audiences to a certain target volume. And then we're going to start focus on retargeting. So the metrics of what we're measuring for my businesses, for my clients and the people that I help has fundamentally changed as the platform has grown. And I don't rely necessarily on, I guess the whole point is when you're doing Facebook ads, it doesn't always have to be an Amanda Bond ninja level of going from money in, lead out. Your Facebook ads, in my opinion, are a wonderful, wonderful mechanism to attract attention on your business, to build those relationships, and then to let your other marketing take over. So there are lots of businesses out there that can't have a full funnel top to bottom that you can map on Facebook. But there are so many businesses that just because you can't do that, you shouldn't discount Facebook ads. You shouldn't just throw it away and say, this isn't for me. You absolutely have to be there. So that's my little rant.
I'll add to that because I actually am seeing lower budgets still having strong results. And like, I'm talking $1 a day ads in some cases where you're going out to those pockets of conditional logic of people moving through your sales process. These humans that are hitting your sales page, these humans that are hitting a specific product page on Shopify, these humans that hit your landing page but didn't opt in. Here's what's different though today versus even 3 years ago. The budgets that you could spend on those audiences and have them deliver successfully have reduced. So like at $1 a day, I'm probably going to have a crazy high frequency of the people that Facebook can find and retarget on your website. But 3 years ago, I could have probably spent $5, $10 a day and reached more people and had them take action further in the funnel. But these $1 a day ads, I'm still finding super successful at lower budgets. So if somebody is like, if you already have an organic content strategy and you're posting on Instagram and you're doing reels for the business, a logical next step ad for somebody just getting started who only wants to spend maybe $100 a month is setting up $1 a day, targeting the people who interact with you on Instagram, who watch those video views. And it's a lead magnet and or product that you're putting in front of them. You're going to run up the frequency and the fatigue sometimes on those ads, but we're able to get more creatives in front of that pocket of people. So they kind of like cycle through each of the creatives, and we're seeing really great result rates. It's not as fast as when you used to be able to spend 5 to 10 times as much, but the way that we're counteracting that is just having more creatives in the mix. So instead of having one retargeting ad that hit them at a very specific part of the funnel, we might have 20 that they're cycling through. And each of those 20, they're only spending $1 a day. You're still spending $20 a day as you layer, right? You could only spend $1, $2, or $3. But that's how we're starting to try and get the scale of the people at that part of the funnel who aren't getting the pixel firing in the way that it used to. So there's workarounds that I'm still finding enjoyable.
Well, listen, I'm gonna count that as your best tip and takeaway because we have to start. Actually, I can't believe how much time we spent together already. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to share their best tip with the audience so they can walk away with some actionable stuff they can use today. Amanda, that was a great one as a tip and a takeaway and something actionable that they can look at their own funnel for. Let's go around the room though. John, if you had to give everybody your best tip and takeaway from this conversation, what do they need to know about Facebook ads as they're walking away from this session?
The algorithm is super smart and much more so than in years past. We could trust it. Now, there's some exceptions, but especially if you're new to this stuff, don't try to outthink it because you won't.
I love that. Ms. Robinson, what's your best key tip or takeaway for our audience?
Best takeaway right now is that you have to have a high volume of creative now more than ever. Having, trying to put all of your effort into one image that you are going to put a whole bunch of money behind and hope for the best doesn't work anymore. You need to have a flexibility of a lot of creative. And I'm not sure a lot of businesses understand that when you create a Facebook ad as like a single campaign with one ad, that ad can have multiple versions of creative inside of it. So I think there's an importance to focusing on that for your business right now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Vol for victory. What do we have to close it out? What's your best tip or takeaway?
Yeah. I'm going to just piggyback on that one too, just to creative and also copy, have great copy, because that I think is really moving the needle a little bit more is just having people already predisposed to your offer, the next step for you. And also just, I think so, I'm doing too. That's so, but also just like the wide targeting is working. So that's kind of, just again with the algorithm. So I'm just really reusing a couple of tips and making them my own. So
you call that a recap in the biz. You're doing great. You just took my job from me. You're doing a great recap. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got these great tips. We've got these great takeaways. And I really do think that if we had to take and do a recap point, it is the algorithm is front and center, to be noticed, to be paid attention to, keep your eye on it. It seems to be a big player now in a way it wasn't even a year ago, is what I'm hearing. So I wanted to make sure that at the end of this, because we've got some really good takeaways here. We have a client of ours that drove 11,000 in sales from a single Facebook ad. So we've got a link to that if you want to read that case study. It's incredibly impressive. And then we always have, as always, Agorapulse. We don't do any, so just to let everybody know, the Agorapulse platform is a great way to support your comments and inbox as a whole for your whole Facebook thing. You do not manage your ads inside of Agorapulse, but there's a great ton of tools in there to help you see where your leads are moving, so you can track to see if you're being effective or not on Facebook in general. So if anybody wants to take a test drive of that, I highly recommend that you do that, get your questions answered, and there's a link on the screen that you can do that. And that is it. Our time together is done. The conversation was incredibly insightful. You guys are also super brilliant. I appreciate you propping me up on this one. I learned a ton actually. And I think I'm going to go snooping around the algorithm and see what I can find out. Maybe we'll do this again and we'll just do secrets of the algorithm will be the next topic. All right. Thank you guys, everybody. Feel free to connect with everybody here on LinkedIn. I'm just going to offer them up as sacrificial lambs on LinkedIn that you can reach out. You can connect with me. You can connect with all of them, follow all the super smart things that they're doing. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, all of you.
Thanks.